mother used to make those when we were very young, and she showed me how to do them. And it's our mother before used to do them. It must be generation there, because they passed from one to the other. So that's how I came to make those flowers. From door to door, we'd know our clients, we'd know our houses, the house in New Hus, the farm in New Hus, and we knew them. So we knew the time to bring them back. Red and white is for Christmas, we'd have the yellow for Easter, we'd have the green for St. Patrick's Day. Then we'd have mixtures for the stations across. Every house of the stations across years ago that have those flowers. That's the only flowers. There were no plastic flowers at that time. We'd put 3 in a bunch, 3 different colours, and we'd sell them for 6pence. If we sold a bunch, we might get a half a crown. That'd be 2 and 6. And if we sold a good basket roll, we'd get 10 shillings. That'd be 50 pence down, like. Be half a pound. So that'd be a lot of money. My aunts used to make them, my father's sister used to make them, my sister used to make them Lord Sinner. Then I made them, so I don't think the grandchildren will ever make them. But they won't know the meaning, they don't know what it is to make a flower. It means a lot to me because I was only a child when I learned it, and I kept it going through the years. So I'm years and years making them, and they mean a lot to me. And even if I'm sitting alone myself, I find a bit of that paper, I'll always make one of the flowers.
I've met some folks who say that I'm a dreamer, doubt there's truth in what they say, but your body's bound to be a dreamer when all the things he loves are far away and precious things are dreamed.
When I started with the Galway Traveller movement in 1998, it was then I started writing poetry and writing stories. 3 of my books are here that I've worked with Terry Callally. She was the illustrator and I'm the author. So one of my books is called The Horse Stealer and the Wedding. The other is The Traveller Boy's Wish, and the other is The American Traveller. And each of those books comes resource packs, and the resource packs are actually to help the settled and the traveller child integrate more.
They take him over a land across the sea, especially when it happens he's an
The main reason of writing those books is because the schools, the libraries fail to have books that would provide each child, settled and traveller, information about travellers' culture and their way of life. And so I thought it would be very important, to get those books published and have them in the libraries so that both sides can learn the culture, which was a beautiful culture.
From that dear lovely isle of Innisfree, and when the moon...
There is a life in writing your stories and keeping it alive, and writing those stories give me a lifeline just as much as it would give younger generation lifeline.
Though it be, I scarcely feel its wonder or its laughter.
Nuts are actually on the ground there, but it's just so far up now. I don't see many nuts up there, but it is a nut tree. This wood is absolutely beautiful. It just brings me back to my childhood. We were proper Misleór Gaeltachts, you know, just take off and we come back when we were hungry. And the woods were our playground. And then we go foraging. I didn't know it was called foraging. I only found out the last few years that it was called foraging. We just went picking nuts. You look at their hair on the ground. It's one way to forage, I suppose. Save me picking them off the tree throws them down to me. We could not wait until it was autumn, because then we go foraging for nuts. And Christmas we get the bit of holly. We bring it home to put it on the door. And it's lovely to get the holly with all the berries in it. So absolutely beautiful. There's always something, every season, there's always something that we'd find to bring home or to, you know, to amuse ourselves or stuff like that. Oh, the briars. Oh, I don't want to remember the briars. I remember once my brother fell into a load of briars. And we had to pick the thorns out of his back because we'd get in big trouble when we went home if he was complaining. So we were hardy children as well, you know. I have to say, I never remember us being sick because we lived off the land. And there was never such thing as having to go to the doctor very often. I don't even remember being sick much as a child because we'd get the wild fruits and the wild flowers, bring them back to my mother. It was absolutely fabulous. My father was a tinsmith and he used to make the buckets and the bins, and we'd go out the country. And one thing, when I go with my mother as a child, she used to do this thing. She'd go over to a tree and she'd take down a few branches, just like this. Just like this, and she'd go and she'd just leave them on the road like that. And I remember saying to her, "What are you doing?" She said, "That's a pattern." I said, "What's a pattern?" "Well, when your father follows us, he'll know where we go." So that was the sign. So we could go for maybe a mile or 2 miles ahead and he'd follow the pattern. Apparently, this is what they made the wattles from the hazel sticks. I thought it was ash, but my brother said it's the hazel stick. So not only would you pick the nuts, but you'd always use the branches to make wattles as well for the tins. So the Misleórs they were very resilient. They always found ways around stuff, you know. And then they put the wattles into water overnight to make sure that they're soft, and then they'd be able to manipulate them into shape. So yeah, so not only would you be using the tree to get the nuts, but you're using the branches to put over your cover over your head at night. Beautiful. Coming back here brings back so many good memories to me of my rich childhood, you know, growing up in the country. And I wish children today, Misleór Gaeltachts, could see what I see in my mind's eye, and when I come back to the wood it's like being a child again, and I wish they could see it because it's the beauty of it. I don't think we appreciate it enough, and as a child I didn't want to live in the country, but I'm so glad I did because I have these beautiful memories now that I'm going to share my grandson. My daughter as well, when she was young we'd bring her out to the country, and now my grandson is 2.5. I can't wait to bring him on walks out to the country and we'll go foraging together, so it's amazing.
So you'd see them falling off the weeds or the seagrass. You'd see them because they're waiting for the tide. They gather in bundles, waiting for the tide to come back in. So this is what I'm saying about them gathered in bunches. You'd get a fistful of them. Do you know, they're small because I'm so far in. I need to be going to the edge to get the bigger ones out further. So you'd shake the seaweed and you'd bring them all together in a bundle and wait until the water clears, and you'd get your bundle then up. And you won't be long filling your bucket that way then. It was always a handy few pounds for us one time ago, like, you know, once you make a good day's picking, you could have a week's worth of winkle picking, and you'd make a couple of hundred if you were lucky by the end of the week, if you had good pickers with you now. But when you have children with you, you'd make the bare minimum. How they were sold by the hundredweight. So 8 stone made the hundredweight. You'd fill up your bag and you'd bring them out to the buyer out in Clarenbridge, and he'd ship them off. Once they're good quality, the further you go out onto the strand, we call it, the better the winkle, the bigger the winkle, because he won't buy real small winkles either, especially when they're selling them. They want the big winkles. So we'd walk out to the lighthouse because it would be very low tide. There was here, the Grattan Beach, the Claddagh Basin. You'd go out to Silver Strand then and you'd pick out there. Then there's another place out in Marry in Ordenmore, and you'd pick out there. So we were lucky in Galway, we're surrounded by the sea, so there was always a beach. And behind the army barracks one time in Ballyloughan was another lovely place to pick. For me, I had 5 children and it was a good way of earning an extra few pounds. If I had other women now with my age out here whose use of the winkle picking, you'd get a lot picked today. But the crowd I have, they're doing nothing but talking. They'll make no money today.
She's so good to me, she got one. That earned a cup of tea. You won't get a cup of tea here.
Your moral support.
Yeah. Oh, this is actually, do you wonder how would there be something living in it? Do you know, is it?
Where the lighthouse is there. One time ago we'd pick further down into the Claddagh Basin, and we'd walk out with the tide to the lighthouse and walk back in. And the water would be up to our chest, but we'd have our bag of winkles or our bucket of winkles. And because the water, it wasn't heavy until you got onto the beach, and then you'd feel the weight. In the winter you'd have the snow and the ice on top of the seaweed, and you'd be brushing the snow and ice away, and your hands would be blue with cold. But they were good winkles because they'd all cluster together in bunches. So you'd sit on the nearest rock and you'd just pick all around you, because in the winter, for the warmth, they'd cluster in big bunches together. And you wouldn't want to be glamorous coming out to the strand, I'll tell you, because by the time you're finished, you're drenched, your hair is all over the place, and you wake with hunger. But you can't be in no better place, because you're out here, fresh air, and you have your few hours whilst the tide is out to think about things. I think I'll always have the winkle picking in my blood. My children won't, but you know that it got them a good pair of runners one time ago, with their mother breaking their back.
My father rises early and makes a sup of tea. He lights the kitchen stove and then he calls me. His days are often empty, nothing much to do. So he tells me stories of the travelling life he knew. In the evening they would meet down lonely country lanes, a field away you'd hear a collie bark, and they'd pass the time away with talk about the day, standing round the campfire